Scott?
Yes, sir.
How's it going, brother? Let's see here. I think I got Reverend Alan Lyles involved in the conversation.
Right.
Good afternoon, St. Louis, Missouri, Atlanta, Georgia, Buffalo, New York, Cincinnati, Ohio, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Charlotte, North Carolina, Memphis, Tennessee, Baltimore, Maryland, Scottsdale, Arizona, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, San Francisco, California, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, and last but not least, Kansas City, Missouri, home of the Kansas City Chiefs, had one of the best games in a long time this past Sunday in football history. We want to say welcome to lunch with the Missouri Cable Congress for January 29th, 2022. My name is Al Fowlkes, your host and creator, along with the Alan Lyles. Rev, how you doing this afternoon?
Fine.
In the family?
Fine. Everybody's fine. Thank the Lord.
Well, we said prayers up, blessed down, and Brother Scott.
I am too blessed to be distressed.
Well, I know you're not riding your bike nowadays, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Of course. That's my wife has a car and I have a bike. That's what I do.
Oh, okay. So you got the leather on, I know then.
Oh, yeah. I've got lots of layers on.
Okay. Well, people are aware in St. Louis, we're not what it is on the East Coast, okay, but we've been having cold weather in the last week or so, which is a good thing at all. The cold weather like this gives a lot of germs, you know what I'm saying? A lot of germs, and so we hope that continues to be hold true for the case. You listen to Ferguson USA HotTalkers.com. We're broadcasting live from beautiful South St. Louis County on a beautiful Saturday here in the city of St. Louis and the surrounding areas. Not a cloud in the sky for the most part. We appreciate that. And we are happy to serve prayer with Elder Alan Lyles, pastor of the Walnut Park Baptist Chapel Church. She's located at 55 Western Little Avenue in North St. Louis at 63120. And Pastor Alan Lyles is the senior pastor at the Walnut Park Baptist Chapel Church located at 55 Western Little Avenue in North St. Louis, 63120 in the Walnut Park area naturally. And next week he'll be that of prayer with Elder Lyles, pastor of Walnut Park Baptist Chapel Church, 55 Western Little Avenue, 63120. I said just 3 times. How did I do?
Fine.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we continue to thank you for your wonderful gospel. How that Christ died for our sins, was buried, and rose again. By continuing believing to the saving of the soul, continues to make heaven your home before you sleep and after you sleep. Heavenly Father, we ask you to bless the sick all over in the universe, Heavenly Father. Let them know you're still on the throne. And we thank you for waking us up this morning, Heavenly Father. You didn't have to do it, but you did. And Heavenly Father, we know you got the keys to death, hell, and the grave. And Heavenly Father, we know it's all under your control. And we thank you for that because we know we're in good protection with you, Heavenly Father. And we just ask you that the gospel continue to go forth all over the universe. And the Holy Spirit convict spirits to be saved before they ever too late. In Jesus' most precious name, amen.
Amen, Rep. That was a prayer right there, because right now, there's the prayers are needed more so than ever. One of the things, we always talk about here in this segment, about the Bible, and how we're living it today. Through the Bible, in the Old and New Testament, okay. They talk about having a nor'easter, you know what I'm saying? As a storm. And right now, we're looking at one right now on the East Coast.
Yep.
And so there's nothing new, okay?
Under the sun.
Under the sun. And so that's why I say, when we talk about here, nothing has changed. It just, we have changed. But the content itself, it hasn't changed. And I guess I can say it's how we live on it is probably the biggest change whatsoever, though. So anyway, what you got for us this week?
Well, Colossians, the first chapter,
okay.
and verse 20 to 23.
Okay.
It is talking about the reconciling work of Christ. And that's dealing with the power of the blood.
Oh, yes.
Now, the power of the blood broke down to 12 attributes which deal with balance. People, only, willing, everlasting, resurrection, one God, one faith, believe, love, oath, order, and desire. The power of the blood. And 1 Corinthians verse 20 says this. This is talking about Christ on the cross, dying for your sins, was buried and rose again. Now you continue to believe it, it continues to make heaven your home before you sleep and after you sleep. So we're going to start with verse 20. Verse 20 says, and having made peace through the blood of his cross. It's talking about on Calvary's cross. By him to reconcile all things unto himself. See, everything is reconciled. Everything he did on the cross is made it possible for us to be here today. And even to be a universe.
Oh, yeah. Amen to that, bro.
And he goes on to say, by him to reconcile all things unto himself. By him I said, whether they be things in earth or things in heaven. And you that were sometimes alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, that now have he reconciled. See, Jesus, even though we didn't love Jesus, he still showed his love for us. Because he first loved us.
Yes.
Ain't that wonderful? To know here it is. The main thing is love from Jesus. And that took love to stay on that cross.
Well, I don't know too many people. Now, I know only anyone, okay? Let me honest about it, okay? And to do it for somebody else a sin, he didn't do anything.
No, he was innocent.
Yeah, so that by itself says a lot.
Yes, sir. Then he goes and says, in the body of his flesh through death. See, that was his death, burial, and resurrection on the cross. That's why we pass from death into life before we sleep and after we sleep. And we're already seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus.
Amen.
See, Christ did this for you and me. You believe it and continue to believe it. But if you don't continue to believe it or don't believe it at all, then you never have been saved. See, it's Christ that saves you, not you saving yourself. To present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight. If you continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister. And that's the same thing Paul saying right here, that reconciled work. It's the same thing I'm saying. But when Christ died, I died. When Christ was buried, I was buried. When Christ rose, I rose. When Christ went to heaven, I went to heaven. Look out! So that's it for that little lesson. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, Rev, I want to thank you for putting together something that a lot of times we find ourselves guilty, as a lot of people find themselves guilty, that that they don't understand, and most times they want to go off on hearsay. Unfortunately, and another thing that the Bible tells you, and I've been reading, quite a bit, right now in Timothy and stuff, and how, like, for some reason, we talk about, especially when we go back to Exodus and stuff like that, those Bibles in the book, how people, God has called our people a stiff-necked people. One of the things where that always stands out in our mind, we come down to the Ten Commandments, with that he came down, that he had just led these people out of Egypt, okay, and had fed them and clothed them, liberate them, okay, take them across, the Red Sea, and on dry land. And did all type of great miracles for them. And in less than a couple, I don't know how many days that Moses up in the mountain, they changed on him just like that.
Yep. Hey, Alan, I want to sing this song to him.
Okay, go ahead, Rick, go ahead.
It's in our hymn book 78. It goes, would you be free from your burden of sin? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Would you only a victory win? There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb, of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be free from your passion and pride? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Come for a cleansing to Calvary's side. There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb, of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be whiter, much whiter than snow? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Sin stains are lost in its life-giving flow. There's wonderful power in the blood. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb, of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you do service in the blood. There is power, oh, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb, of the Lamb. There is power, oh, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Amen in Jesus' name.
Amen. Ira, are you there?
I'm sorry, I'm saying I said, Reb, I think that is your first song this year. Am I right, Scott?
This
Yes,
year,
sir.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we keep track of things here. We try our best to do, okay. But now I think one of the things, that we hear and people here talk about the blood, and that's a very important part all through the Bible, okay. That's something that's that's spoken about, and it's not being spoken there for not for a reason. It's a reason that you read about and you hear about it and you sing about it.
Yes, sir.
Just like we just did, okay? We got to be conscious of that, as you go about our day-to-day activities, there's a lot of stuff, okay, that we need to keep track of. In fact, when you read the Bible, Rev, and I said this, that one of the things that you do, okay, every week, this is our program, Rev, his objective and our objective here is to keep you grounded, okay, in the Spirit.
Amen.
What the Bible says, and we try our best, to give you some type of spiritual, awakening sometime, a lesson sometime, but at the end of the day, something that you can, hold you over to the next week. Because we all go by, my motto is prayers up, blessings down.
Yes, sir.
And the more people we remind our friends about that, and our family members about that, and our listeners about that, that it's important, to be at, okay. If you don't go to matter of fact, nowadays it's virtually impossible for you not to go to church. There's so much church on TV, on the internet, all this broadband stuff. So right now, it's out there for you now. You know what I'm saying? We just have to go about, let's be obedient. Again, like Rev just said, it's in the blood, and the blood's every place. It's not just limited.
Nothing but the blood.
Not but the blood, and it's not just limited to be in the church, okay? No. That's just a house. That's just a building. Your heart is where all the work that takes place.
Yeah, God's building His people.
Yes.
And they have no respect for persons.
Yes. So anyway, having said that, you listen to Fragrance of USA, HotTalkRadio.com on a beautiful Saturday here in the Midwest, I should say. We're praying for the people on the East Coast, by all means. As we talked about earlier about the Nor'easter. You listen to Rev with a beautiful Bible lesson for this week, and also for a beautiful song. And listen to Scott, who let us know that in the cold weather, he's a man we got his leather on. He's riding the bike. Yeah, Scott, you're a man's man, brother.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate it.
Okay, but hey, well, let's be honest about this, Red. Tell them about this. It's cold outside today.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so let me tell you, it's a man's man. Anyway, my name is Aaron, folks. Listen to Lunch with Enjoy That Chill Commerce Way. Beautiful Saturday afternoon. On that note, Scott, take us out of here. back to lunch with some Zilver at Chino Commerce for a beautiful, beautiful Saturday in January. Matter of fact, the last Saturday in the month. And matter of fact, as people, those folks say, the month goes out like a lion or comes in like a lion or lamb. Well,
that's March, Ira.
So when them,
That's March. It comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb.
well, down south they say, any month, it comes in like this month, the January is ending, like a lion, and he came in kind of meekly, and it's like around the country, we got even here we got some cold weather. Matter of fact, all around the country, we got 20, even Atlanta, Georgia, even Chicago. They got. It's like nowhere. I guess west of the Mississippi, east of the Mississippi, do we not have some kind of cold weather? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Scott, while we was a break when we was talking to since the people, Rev and I was talking. One of the things that Rev and I was talking about was that nowadays people seem to think that when something happens, it should take place in a certain time limit. Like on the stock market, like even with President Biden, people should think should be done in the first year, first 90 days. And one thing I know in our country especially, we become very time conscious because we watch these TV programs in a half-hour program, something still a whole lifetime is almost takes place in a half an hour, either on an hour program. Well, that's not how life is, Will. Scott, life is not choreographed to take place like that.
Yeah.
And I don't get people how long does that? As long as it takes.
That's a fact.
I was in a promotion at Regal Sports here. We always said on the concert, things start going against you once you set a date, okay, that for something to take place. Then you become conscious of that date, and you kind of force yourself, okay, and try to make things take place on a certain timeline. And that's not how life is.
That's right.
Well, one thing for sure. Where's you going to Scott?
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay, well, anyway, talking about time, we got so much time today. We got a beautiful show for you today. Matter of fact, one of the things that we continue to talk about here, if we start off our show every Saturday, about the coronavirus, COVID-19, either Delta, Omicron, what do you want to call it, okay? It is creating havoc around the world. Matter of fact, even in China, places like that, they're going to remain on lockdown for another year. Another year, okay? And right now, over 74 million people have come in contact with this. That's a lot of people. And the bad part about it always gets me is that over 880-some people have died from this. That's a lot of people. That's almost all the world wars we have had in this country's lifetime. 800-some people. And it's not all young people. It's not all older people. For a while, the old people was the ones going up, but nowadays, people right now, and the thing that gets me here, and we continue saying is, please get vaccinated. And in fact, recently, people are not taking, vaccination serious, but certain places, like in Boston, most recently, a man that was going to get a heart transplant. Well, guess what? He refused to get vaccinated. And guess what? They refused to operate on him because they didn't want to put themselves in harm's way. Because people right now who are dying because they don't want to get vaccinated. And it's not just you, okay, that you should be conscious of. It's your fellow man. It's the people that you go around. The kids. I can't count the people I know that in my circle of people that I'm in contact, that the young people are apologizing now for being around their older members and their families and giving them the virus. And people have passed away. And they apologize. I didn't mean it. Well, that means the grandparents are gone. Or the fathers and sisters are gone. I mean, this is so serious, you know, that it's unbelievable. And right now, this Omicron, this thing has been more powerful, okay? And it is caused, as people said, it been taken serious. But guess what? It's causing more American deaths than we had in the Delta wave this past fall. And we all thought the Delta was the worst thing since sliced bread. But the bad part about this, they're saying now, and I go by what they say, this is what science is saying, that there's another big variant coming behind this one. And so we don't have the slightest idea when this is going to be over with. There won't be nothing about time. We always say, well, when is it going to be over with? We don't know. Matter of fact, Dr. Fowlkes doesn't know. Science can only show you what is being shown to science. And this is something, again, it never happened before in our history of the world. And so people around the world are taking this very, very serious. And, you know, and I hate to say this, people have made this a political football. I mean,
see, that's a big problem with it, though, Ira. It's become very political instead of scientific.
Say it again, Scott?
I said this football has become political instead of actually scientific.
Right. It's become political, okay? In fact, it has become political. Like in our country, most things become political before you know it, before it becomes, you know, people don't understand what the facts are. Like right now, I say this up front, you know, one of the things that former President Donald Trump did was he fast-tracked these vaccines. Matter of fact, the Moderna, the first one came out of Boston, which was, you know, created, you know, one of the lead scientists was a black lady out of Boston who worked on this coronavirus thing for some years. And they came out, and matter of fact, initially, you know, it's just like most of the people on TV, you know, are saying, talking about it, you know, they have been vaccinated. I mean, they have taken care of themselves. And now statistics show us that face masks do work. And for a while, you know, they were kind of hard to come out for the KN95 face mask and, you know, 3M mask. But right now, if you go to Walgreens in your neighborhood now, especially in the Midwest, that's where you can get free face masks. And that's coming from the government. And not only can you get free face masks, also you can get the test, the free test now available to you. As a matter of fact, I must say it 3 times, to get your free COVID test mailed to your house. Matter of fact, it's 7 days after you call, 7 to 10 days that you receive the test. The number is 1-800-232-0233. That's 1-800-232-0233 for your free COVID-19 test. That's 1-800-232-0233. And if you want to get you a free face mask, there's a Walgreens almost on every corner you go to in here, you know, in most cities, I should say. In the rural area, they're still working on getting those to you. But right now, okay, the 2 things that should be most important to you right now is that face mask. The 3M face mask is something that, you know, that works and stuff. This is something now that's not going away no time soon. And so all they talk about right now is the virus, what you want to call it, the virus that we're dealing with right now is Omicron. But right now, even as we speak, Moderna has already been with some trials, you know, for Omicron target, you know, for a booster, you know, shot, and Pfizer and biotechnology, they're also in trials for a vaccine, especially for the Omicron, because there's another version of this Omicron coming our way. Now we don't know how deadly it's going to be, but it always starts off not that deadly, and all of a sudden look up, a lot of people are dying.
Hey, Ira.
Yes, sir.
You keep talking about these free testing these free masks, but you know they're not free. They're being paid by somebody.
Well, the government's paying for it. Matter of fact, we are paying for it. I mean, as a taxpayer, everywhere we go, we pay a gas tax, we pay income tax, and that money, sits in Washington D.C.
I'm just saying it's not free.
Oh well, right now you receive it without having to pay for it in the mail, okay?
Well,
Because the government is paying for it. And right now, when we want to use it, okay? Right now, in the Biden administration, when he came into office, he didn't have a slightest idea. He thought he was dealing with one something. And well, right now, anybody person in America, okay, have access to a kit. They have access to the vaccination. They now have access to a mask. And not only that, okay, they're going to put money in your pockets now that you didn't have before. It wasn't free money. That was money, okay, but it come from our federal government.
Which came from us. Which came from us.
Which came from us.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the government, all your congressmen, your president, your governors, your mayors, your committee people, not committee people, anybody with a committee person in politics, they get paid by you. Your city taxes, okay, run your city government. I mean, that's why, you see them trying to bring new businesses and stuff in. And right now, restaurants have taken a very hard hit because of this, because of coronavirus. A lot of them, have gone out of business, unfortunately. And I said gone out of business. Some have been around over 50-some years or longer. They've been from family to family to family. And now they cannot survive. And not only just restaurants, other family businesses and stuff. Like in the black business community, we have been hit hard. Because through the National Chamber of Commerce, we've been on call already this White House, how we can get resources to the communities. And we're working to that now, okay, through our chamber here. We're doing, like last year, we gave away almost 10,000 face masks.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I mean, 10,000 face masks. And they came through donation to the National Chamber of Commerce. They gave them to the Missouri Chamber of Commerce. And we in turn pass them on to, matter of fact, we pass them out all over the state. Not just here in St. Louis area, we live in Kansas City, we in Hayti, anywhere Jefferson City, all over the state, the colleges and stuff. And you'd be surprised how many people, like that may have saved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they had free face masks. I mean, and now, okay, you can get those same face masks now at Walgreens in the Midwest, I should say.
Right.
In other parts of the country, I'm not sure. Different drugstores you may have there, but you got CVS, different stores. But I would suggest you call the pharmacies in your areas because the government right now we provide money to our government. Make sure I got the radio, Scott. We provide money to the government. The government now is putting money into our communities. And not only that, just yesterday, President Biden was traveling to Pittsburgh, to talk about, the money that's coming for infrastructure. And a bridge fell down. And here in Missouri, we got all type of bad bridges.
Yes,
Matter of fact, you know that when you go to different places, that they have weight limits that you can go across the bridge. And most of those weight limits will not accompany a school bus or a fire truck. So those bridges right now need to be replaced. I was surprised to find out that Pittsburgh has the most bad bridges in the whole country.
Well, they're older part of the country.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one thing right now. This infrastructure is providing jobs. And speaking of jobs, we're finding ourselves right now since the Ronald Reagan days having, matter of fact, more jobs, lower job rates, more jobs available for the people who want to work. And I said, who wants to work? Matter of fact, through the National Chamber of Commerce and through the Blockchain Academy, when you mentioned a commercial, okay, we are actually right now awarding scholarships to our people, those who want it in our area. And what that's doing is providing training for the future in cryptocurrency. Because no matter how you look at it, it is the future. People say, I don't understand it. That's okay. Somebody understands it. Because you don't, does not mean it's not going to take place, you know what I'm saying? But right now, as we look at around ourselves, here in Missouri, one of the things that's catching on at first, our Attorney General, I won't call his name because that's what he wants people to do. He's suing the schools for wearing face masks. And the parents are upset, the teachers are upset, because the teachers are getting sick, some are dying, they getting home to their kids and their family members. And one thing we have been proven, face masks do work. Face masks do work.
Amen.
And we know that because we all wear face masks.
You said.
That's what I said. We're not trying to prove face masks wrong. They do work, and that's why the government's trying to give out face masks. And this is one time I can say, Scott, our tax money is being put to good use. Okay?
Well, that's a good thing. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, the tax money for face masks and for the test kits and for the vaccine, that is tax money being put to good ways. Being put to good use.
I was going to say.
So we tell people right now, please wear your face mask, wash your hands, social distance. Washing your hands goes back to your kids. That works, and we need to get that done. And also, this past week, something real stupid, okay? In the United States Navy, discharged 23 active duty sailors for refusing to get vaccinated. And that makes good sense. But they're serious about that. And also, a state trooper up in Washington State recently died, okay? And it is notable that when I mentioned his name, okay? But he had told the governor to kiss his rear because he didn't getting vaccinated, but he's dead now. And he's told I can talk about people after people, okay, who died from this. So right now, please get vaccinated. We ain't got to tell you no more about that. We leave that horse alone. And also this past week, as we have talked about already, this nor'easter that's hitting the east coast. Matter of fact, it's cold all over the country, okay? When you get down to 20-something degrees in Georgia, okay, that's cold. They're not used to that down there. And God forbid if some snow falls. A couple of years ago, some snow fell down there, and shut down the whole city in the state for the most part because they don't have snow plows. That's not something they're used to down there, okay? And could you imagine that? Oh my God! And one thing for sure down there, we all know, Scott, you've been down there before, probably. They drive real fast down there. They don't slow down for anything. So there'll be a whole lot of black ice on the highway. So please slow down. Okay. And like I said, this nor'easter, excuse me, what you want to call it right now, this storm, oh my God, over 68 million people are going to be affected in some kind of way. And we just cold like this. Gas lines, pipes and stuff, we're here, when you hear our voice, if it's cold down in the teens and down to single digits, have some water running in your house. That's an old thing to say. So you don't want your pipes freezing, right, Rep?
That's right.
Because that little stream of water running, okay, will save you a whole lot of money. And make sure
yes, sir.
It makes that you let your pipes not get busted. And also the big news this week has been the Supreme Court Justice Stephen Brown is stepping down at the age of 83, I should say. And he has served 27 years on the Supreme Court. Been involved in a lot of decisions over the years. 27 years, that's a long time. He was appointed by President Bill Clinton. But also, this will allow, I should say, President Joe Biden to keep the campaign promise, appointing the first black female to the United States Supreme Court in 223 years. See that, people? 223 years that the court's been in existence. There's not been a black female. We have Hispanic female. We have white females. We have a whole lot of white men, but very few people are minority. And so, like Clarence Thomas, succeeded in, Stuart Marshall. And so right now, I think it's time for a black female. And right now, you hear people saying that that's because, President Biden said he's going to pick a female. Well, Ronald Reagan made a campaign promise years ago that he's going to appoint a woman to the Supreme Court his own self. And he did. This has Sonny Bill O'Connor became the first woman on the court. And that's what they thought he was crazy. And they made jump on him back in those days. Saying that he about. But that's how our country does. But right now, I will say this, okay, in our justice system, that the Supreme Court is important. Right now, there are 3 women at the top of the list. One of the young ladies is Judge Jackson. She's on the federal appeals court already in D.C. And also the young lady from California. She's on the Supreme Court in the state of California. Very young lady. To me, she'd be the ideal person because she's probably the youngest person to be on the court. But the lady that's top will get it, okay. Will be a lady's name is Judge Charles. Now, Judge Charles is about to be nominated to the appeals court, okay, which means she's gonna go to a Senate confirmation hearing. But right now, at the same time, she got support from 2 Republican senators from the state of South Carolina. Senator Scott and also he's all over the place. I won't give him no credit, okay? But Congressman Clyburn is also supporting this young lady. And she has all her qualifications, okay? But if she got 2 Republican senators already on her side. And also, one of the things that we have talked a lot about here, because in the last couple of weeks right now, we talked about Kristen Sinema, the senator from Arizona, who went against all the things with the Democratic Party and stuff. But right now, she's catching hell because right now the Democratic Committee for Arizona censored her, and right now all of the support money that she needs to run is going in the opposite direction. And last but not least, we got a tight time here. The January 6th, 2021 Select Committee in the House is making more headway. They have subpoenaed 14 more individuals. And I got to bring Nimrod. Nimrod, you there?
I am, yes, I am.
Okay, well, let me bring you in here. Nimrod, let me tell you about him, okay, is an attorney. And he's also the president of the NAACP for the state of Missouri. So right now, we're going to talk about legalities, Nimrod, if you don't mind, here before we get into our segment. Right now, all these people, okay, that's been involved, that's been subpoenaed and stuff, a lot of them people are lawyers. And most of these people right now have told lies in the past, okay, but once they under oath, if they tell a lie now, they lose their license. Am I right, Nimrod?
That's right. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In short order, there'll be a little process that would occur when it's determined that they have either impeached themselves or perjured themselves, and then the State Bar Associations to which they belong could take direct action against their ability to practice law. They got a lot on the line.
Yeah, a lot of the lawyers that was going around the country, Rudy Giuliani and his team, all of them right now are fighting for their law license, in most states right now. And that's why they're kind of quiet. And that's why now when people from this select committee get subpoenaed, and most of them are lawyers now, okay, they're now taking the fifth. And why is that, Nimrod?
Well, you're right against self-incrimination because, if you get pulled over by a police officer and they ask, hey, were you speeding? You don't have to say, yes, I was speeding, officer, right? But you don't need to tell a lie either. Just say, I plead the fifth. And so that's what they want to do.
Yeah, and that way, they will not lose their license.
That's right. Yeah, at least not for this.
Not for this. Well, while on this, okay, what about that? And I said that in several states, people had these alternate electors for the electoral college, and a lot of them were lawyers. What kind of legal jeopardy are they in?
Boy, I tell you what, as an officer of the court, I think that you've got a duty to tell the truth, and certainly as you believe it, right? If you don't have a good faith basis for saying something, particularly about the elections being rigged or not done fairly, and history, recent history has borne the fact out that the elections were safe, that they were secure, that people's votes were counted and counted appropriately, and that the people that won on whatever side of the ticket, Republican or Democrat, were the right people to be holding those seats. So I would hate to be a lawyer in that situation right now. I wouldn't sign up for that.
And one thing here that made no sense to me, okay, most of these congressmen, senators, and state reps, senators, committee people all down the line, they were on the same ballot, okay, and if the election was rigged, how can they get elected?
Well, isn't that the truth? Yeah. So all of a sudden it was bad just for some portion of the candidates. That doesn't make any sense, It doesn't make no sense at all. The truth is, I think, Ira, that you have some folks who felt like they lost the election and they didn't want to lose, but instead of just, licking their wounds and moving on like everybody else does when you don't win, they want to try to say that there's some impropriety. But the cost of that is damage to our democracy itself. You cannot do that,
Well, right now, and let's give an example, okay? This one of the things that we in Missouri can be proud of here. This past Sunday night, the country, the world was treated to a football game for the Times.
Right, yes.
Whereas Buffalo lost, right?
Uh-huh.
And we all watched in the last 13 seconds, okay, they celebrate because they thought they had victory.
Right.
Now, after they lost, they didn't complain.
Nope. That would be poor sportsmanship, right? That's what you call that. Yeah. But on the political front, all of a sudden it's popular, to challenge the entire electoral process based on the outcome of a few discrete elections. That's not right.
It's not right. But anyway, we'll get into that, okay? But anyway, right now, I guess one other thing before we get into the program here, around the country, around the world, we're looking at, you hear about Ukraine.
Yeah.
Well, that was something you heard about in the past election. Former President Trump almost got he was impeached for, but for being involved with Ukraine, and now that is that's what people talk about all around the world. And the reason this is so important that NATO, National Alliance Treaty Organization, they want Ukraine wants to join NATO. Well, right now, Russia do not want that to take place. And so just because he don't want that to take place, because right now he's trying to put it back to Soviet Union where it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, for one man to put his will on all those people, that's going. Right now, Russia, there can be some consequences for your action.
Right.
Right. And they do mean consequences for your action. And one thing in our world today, financial consequences is more than anybody's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be consequences. Now, having said that, let's bring most politics, most things started at home. Here in the state of Missouri, we have some serious issues with the law. Okay, like most states, okay, and we're no different here. And first of all, let me kind of do what I have to do here to make people understand. I was fortunate last year to be part of our show. We do it at 5 o'clock from Kansas City. Just from Kansas City, we had Mr. Chaffel, who's also our trainer for the Military Conference, invited 2 guests in, and we were able to talk about a loss. Now, we all read about what took place down in Brunswick, Georgia, where a young man was gunned down because he was running. But here we have a young man that was gunned down in his pajama bottoms.
Right.
Now, if you're in your pajama bottoms, okay, you cannot rob nobody. Right. You cannot walk the street.
Right.
You cannot do a whole lot of things because you're not properly dressed. But he was killed in a small town in Missouri. Nothing took place. So on that note, Nimrod, if you don't mind, you take it from here and let's introduce our guest.
I would be delighted. And let me thank you so much, Ira, for allowing us to come on your show. We're looking forward to it. And although it's a pleasure to be with you, we wish it could be under some different circumstance. We're here today because Justin King was murdered in Bourbon, Missouri on November the 3rd of 2021. No charges have been filed. We have with us today his mother, Eva Bruns, and his father, John King. And I think that they can share in such a better way what we know and what we need and what we want. Before we talk about this awful murder, can we hear about Justin himself? Eva, would you mind telling our listening audience about your son?
Yes, Jack. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity for your radio station to our lawyer, Mr. Red, for giving a chance to spread the whole word that my son needs a voice to speak and share that nightmare that happened on November 3rd. But my son, Justin 18, was born in Columbia, Missouri, raised in St. Louis. He's, I can tell you all about him in 28 years that he's been with me. He was a young man full of joy, helpful, and so much love to his heart. To not just give a justice for being innocent and all about the deeds, and put him to stand that he seems like he's the one is a murderer. And Justin King is all he do is being friends and the shooter. And being friends with older neighbors. It's the only reason he moved down there because there's a wonderful, beautiful young lady, the Holly King. And he's amazing how they've been together all the time. That he never had, so that's his one daughter that he got. He's paying child support. He's been there for all activities, school, swimming, all that you name it. That Justin always there cooking, teaching her, and be a good citizen. And Justin's work hard. He always have a job, and paying bills. He even helped me because I'm always single mom, and helped me to pay half of my rent. That's why the reason he moved in a cheaper trailer apartment. Because he knows that he got to help me. Then I told him that he don't get to. But he's always tell me, Mom, I got you. He always hang up the phone with love. Always with love. For whoever he talks to. And everyone that knows Justin, that he can tell you what kind of person he is. It hurts so much. That he had 3 bullets. He don't deserve that. And that's all we can pray so hard that he can get justice for him. And if he can just survive that accident, he can tell you everything that he's innocent. It's only one side of this story. There's no evidence, no whatsoever, that my son is a criminal.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Ms. Eva. You couldn't be more right about this. Unlike some of the issues that we see in the media today, where individuals are, shot or murdered by cops or police officers, this is a situation where it was literally his neighbor. Mr. John King, would you mind sharing with us the circumstances to bring us here today?
Yes. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing us to share Justin's story on this venue. My name is John King. I'm Justin's father, and I'm actually here in North Carolina, where Justin was just recognized on an international platform or about 20 different countries. Justin and I had planned on working a business together. They loved him, and they really didn't even know him that long, and that's just the way Justin was. He had an infectious love for people. People met him. He met no stranger. So on November 3rd, Justin was doing his normal thing. He was helping a neighbor find a dog. He was helping another neighbor start a car that wouldn't start. And his neighbor across the street, supposedly his friend, but obviously not a friend, had set him up, had planned, pre-planned, premeditated this murder that he carried out. He came over to Justin's house and talked to him. And I guess about 45 minutes later, Justin went over to his house, and that's when this neighbor shot him outside while, as the gentleman said, in his pajama bottoms. I mean, he had no shoes. He had no shirt. He was outside. And his last words to Mr. Eric Barber, the murderer, was, "Eric, I thought you were my friend." And Eric replied, "You were." And at that point, all of the neighbors that were outside, some of them called the police. Eric Barber was arrested that day. But within 24 hours, Eric Barber was released for committing cold-blooded murder. And the reason behind that is because he lived in Crawford County, Missouri, a small rural area known to be populated heavily by the Ku Klux Klan, and just a rough neighborhood for anybody that's of African-American descent. But guys, that's not an excuse.
How far is that from St. Louis, Missouri?
About an hour, 15, 20 minutes away, real close to Cuba, Missouri, down Highway 44.
Okay. I'm sorry, but go ahead. I just want to make sure people understand how close it is to St. Louis here.
Yeah, it's not far. And matter of fact, when Justin decided to move there, I had sold home improvement in that area. I said, man, I don't think you really want to move there. Why don't you stay in St. Louis and then just travel and see Harley? But no, he wanted to be. Justin's biggest concern was his daughter. He loved his Harley. That was his heart. These two were inseparable, and that was the reason why he moved to Bourbon to be a few minutes away from his daughter. And as even mentioned, he didn't miss a game. He didn't miss a swimming meet. He didn't miss a parent-teachers meeting. This guy was. I called him. On Facebook. I called him the world's greatest father. I've never seen a young man of his age take so much responsibility for being a parent. He was a parent to his daughter, and also he was a parent to other children. He was a friend to his neighbors. He was the kind of guy that if a neighbor was taking in groceries, he'd pull up and say, "Hey, I'm Justin. You don't know me, but I'm your neighbor. Let me help you with those groceries." There was one neighbor that said that she couldn't put up her own Christmas lights because he says, "Hey, let me do that. You're the age of that. You shouldn't be doing that. Let me do that." He got up on the home and put the Christmas lights up. So as a result of his personality and the love that he had for his neighbors, all of these people came out to support and to stand up for him, even though they were white neighbors in Bourbon, Missouri. They came out to say, "Hey, no, this Eric Barber, you're wrong for killing Justin. It was cold-blooded murder." But you know what? The prosecutor didn't want to hear that. The prosecutor was the guardian ad litem in Eric Barber's divorce case, years ago. And now this was the prosecutor in this case that when they called a coroner's inquest, which is an antiquated legal procedure, they called a coroner's inquest. And when we got there a few weeks ago, and I asked the sheriff, Aaron Lehman, I said, "Sheriff, let me ask you this: how did you come to this list of 6 individuals?" And he said,
Mr. Chappell? Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by while we reconnect with Mr. Fowlkes and Mr. Chappell.
about all the sons and daughters that we are losing frivolously and without regard. And it has to do with what these gentlemen are talking about. The January 6th situation where, you know, people storm the Capitol. You know, these people have no regard for life, liberty, and justice, and we need to stand up for justice. Justin King was, like I said, a loving individual. He didn't have a harmful bone in his body. He was a lover and not a fighter. And Eric Barber knew that, and he took advantage. I mean, there was evidence on Facebook that this gentleman had plans on killing someone. There was a post that he had on Facebook that he wanted to dump a mag into someone. Justin didn't see that. Justin didn't know what this man was up to, and you know, he was just a friend to this guy. You know, even though the guy had made plans or actually threatened Justin's life before. Justin thought it was a joke, you know, when the guy threatened him. But the neighbors came out. They said, no, this guy has done this before. 2 years prior, he had pulled a gun on someone while intoxicated and had been charged for it. You know, years prior, he had pulled a gun on his wife and threatened to kill not only the wife but the children during their divorce case. And the guardian ad litem chose to give custody of the daughter to Mr. Barber. Again, this is the good old boy network that just of no righteousness that's happened in Crawford County. And guys, we are going to stand for justice. We are going to make sure that my son seeks justice. And that's
John, when you say that we're going to stand, has there been a number of protests that have been going on that you and Mrs. Eva Bruns have been at?
Yes, we have done multiple protests. We have marched on the county courthouse. We've marched on Bourbon Police Station. We've marched to ABC News to let them know about it, and they, you know, we came outside and said, hey, we're going to go down there and investigate. And so they did. They came out. I think Eva talked to one of the newscasters, and that newscaster not only went out to investigate, he's the one that found the gentleman that Eric Barber pulled a gun on, and they had him on the news.
Yes,
and so
Fox Channel Chris Hayes.
Yeah.
And I believe it's going to be the 5th of February.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us what's happening on the 5th of February and how people can get involved.
Yeah, February the 5th, we are going to march. We're going to start at Justin's location where he was killed at. We're going to do a vigil at that location, and from there we're going to do a motorcade west on 44 West going toward Crawford County. In Stillville, Missouri, we'll go to the courthouse. We'll march to the courthouse. We'll march to get out of the cars and literally walk 2.5 miles for the 2.5 hours that they let Justin lay on the ground there at his site of death. We're going to make a stand, and you know, it's so unfair of what this court system in Crawford County has done. I have never seen anything like it in my 56 years of existence. I've never seen such immoral and unethical what they call justice. There was no justice in what David Smith, the prosecutor of Crawford County, held. What he called a coroner's inquest. There was no justice when the sheriff, you know, just because Eric Barber may be connected to a family that's known in Crawford County, to release him 24 hours after he shot my son. You know, they actually brought him home 24 hours later, you know, in a police motorcade to protect him. You know, and they brought him home. They packed his clothes. They packed his weapons and took them to his father's home.
They packed the weapons?
They packed his weapons and took them to his father's home. Now, this is a gentleman that 2 years ago had pulled a gun while intoxicated on another gentleman, and years prior pulled a gun on his wife and threatened his child and his wife. And you know, but these are all white people. Well, when he pulled a gun on my son, who happens to be African American and Filipino, he pulled the trigger 3 times without any remorse. And I think one of the third shot, one of the neighbors says it was he did it like a trick shot where he put the gun over his shoulder and shot it.
What?
As if it was a game, you know. And so as more and more evidence comes out about what happened, guys, this is despicable for someone to be able to do this, and for just because you're in a rural area think it's okay, and it's not okay. You know, it's definitely not okay, and we are not going to stand. We are going to continue to protest until we get justice.
And then, let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, okay?
Yes, sir.
And the attorney in this case, we understand how Missouri is, okay? And our state is one of the most the survey done years ago that Missouri has more of the militia camps than the others in the country.
Right.
Faced with this, okay, what can the legal system do to kind of correct this justice?
Well, and Ira, that's what we're working on right now. Because I think what we need to have is what was been promised already. The first step, in order to get Eric Barber prosecuted for the shots that he fired into Justin King that took his life, the first step is to have a fair review of the information. Now, the prosecutor could move forward and file charges against him, but has refused. So that's why the coroner's inquest could have been used to actually show the evidence. But I'll tell you, what we saw there in Crawford County was an abomination. At a coroner's inquest, the minimum that you do is show pictures of the body. They refuse. They refuse to show any pictures of Justin. So the jury needs to get an idea of how those shots were made. That one came through the leg, and that as he was falling down onto his knees, another one shot him in the head. And with the 22 bounced off, and he could have lived. He could have lived through both of those shots, but it was the third shot that killed him. The jury didn't get to get that information. So we've got to get that information somehow to them. Now, we've got grave concerns about this coroner. Not only was the coroner's inquest not recorded, I believe that's part of the statute. That's right. That's right. Go right ahead. Yeah.
The coroner's inquest. We were told when we walked in the building. Not only were we told, the media was told, no one can bring in phones, no one can bring in smartwatches, no one can bring in anything that can record. Now, why is that? They didn't want that tragedy of justice to be recorded. Well, they forget that we are not ignorant people. We can take notes. And that's exactly what the news people did. They took notes on what they saw. We took notes on what we saw. And, we more than one or more than 3, more than 10 people witnessed this tragedy of justice, where it was a one-sided portrayal of why that Justin this Eric Barber would not be tried. They had made that decision, and it was not made based on facts. It was made based on political, geographical politics of the residents in that area does not want to see a black man get justice. They don't want to see that. They want that area to be known. Well, if we can kill a black man, and it's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal, because Justin King is my son. I loved him. His mother loved him. His neighbors loved him. His friends loved him. And we are not going to stand by and allow our son to be taken viciously like that without any recourse. We refuse to do it.
And another problem with not showing the pictures of Justin King is that all of those jurors signed a jury form that says that they saw the pictures.
Oh, no.
The whole process is a fraud.
Well, let me ask you this. Speaking from a legal perspective, okay, I know that we're in a kangaroo court compared to the stripping, okay? But are there consequences for their actions?
Boy, I tell you what, Missouri is one of those states where it is so difficult to get past qualified immunity, which basically says that if you're a public servant, public official, that you have immunity from negligently performing your duty or even doing a super bad job at it on purpose. You have to show various levels of intent that are, I'm just going to tell you, they're in the stratosphere in terms of how high they are. That's why police officers that in general kill unarmed people who they may or may not be trying to apprehend, that's why they don't go to jail. That's why prosecutors who fail to do their job in terms of prosecuting killers or just can't get a conviction on somebody that everyone knows is guilty, that's why they can't be sued. So in terms of the ramifications there, no. But because of the actions of this family to bring light to what happened in the murder of their son, a worldwide spotlight is focusing in on Bourbon, Missouri, on those elected officials, and in particular on the coroner, who can't operate within the bounds of his elected duty.
Okay, now let me ask this question, and I want to kind of bring this out. I thought, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if you kill somebody, there normally is, you don't go home, until the trial.
Right.
Right. Just like he was like wondering if my son, vice versa, that my son shoot Eric Barber. You think because my son's mixed, you think he can get out of the jail for 24 hours? No.
And then if he's escorted by the police and they take all the evidence away, and that's tampering with evidence right there. We all watch CSI and all that kind of stuff, Okay. But I'm saying,
I want to add that one that happened in that November, that they moved Justin's body 6 feet away from the car that he laid down on. The police officer moved his body.
We drug him 6 feet.
Drug him.
Yeah.
And over you know he can check his pulse or
didn't know if he had a pulse. Didn't know any of that.
Yep. It's really amazing. So first of all, you have a murder, right? And then no significant arrest, no incarceration, no prosecution of the person who admitted. They showed part of the video that they had from Eric Barber. He admitted that he shot Justin 3 times. He admitted that he had been drinking that day. They found that he had a blood alcohol content of .065, right? You wouldn't let your kids in the car with that. A person with that kind of alcohol in their system arguably cannot make a rational decision. Yeah.
And he admitted they give joints for my son with meth.
I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. Can you go ahead? I'm sorry.
No, and you know what really was, I knew that there was not going to be any justice in this situation. 24 hours after he shot and killed my son, when they brought him to his trailer, they came to us prior to that to let us know, hey, we're ongoing investigation. Mr. Barber is going to be coming home, and we're going to go through his home. 24 hours later, one of the sergeants, actually the gentleman that was at the head table during the conquest, I think he was the sergeant, had the nerve to tell me that Eric Barber was sorry for killing my son.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe that was coming out of his mouth to tell me that the murderer was sorry for killing my son. So it was as if that he was trying to take up for his son or something, or a relative. And hey, he's remorseful. But when Eric Barber stepped out of the car, he didn't have a remorse look on his face. It looked as if he looked to me as if he had ran a red light and no big deal. Not after he had taken the life of my son.
And then, let me ask this question to you here. I know in the Michael Brown situation, and also in the one with Mr. Down in South Carolina, in Georgia. Here, at that time, Congressman Clay, they asked for the Justice Department to get involved. Here, okay, the ministers like the congressman from that area is not black, am I right?
That's correct.
And so what are the chances, okay, of getting the Fed, looking at this as a civil rights violation?
Well, and that's what we have, that the federal government, whether it's the FBI, the U.S. attorneys, but we have that those arms of government force the civil rights that we can't seem to find across the county. I mean, this is a simple case, right? When someone is murdered, there should be a prosecution. And in order to get to a prosecution, you collect some reasonable evidence. Well, you have the person that said he shot him. So what are we waiting on? I don't see how that's not a civil rights violation. And that's what we need. We need a prosecution of this murder. And whether they do it on the state level or the federal level, that's got to get done. He's got to be held accountable. We cannot have that kind of lawlessness in our state, in our streets. Literally, murder.
Let me ask another question, okay? Our Attorney General, we already know that he's on a mission, doing other things right now. What is his involvement? What is this responsible for?
None. We have not heard from the Attorney General, but we've reached out to him.
No one contacts us, even that happened. No one contacts us. In the sheriff, no one. They become my son's girlfriend, the one called my other son, to verify my son's being shot.
Right.
So
That's right.
So right now, on the state level, we had an uphill battle.
We do.
We do. To a federal level, we have got an uphill battle.
But
go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but you're absolutely right. But I believe we can do it. I believe that Missouri can do it. Listen, with the attention of real journalists like you and others bringing out the facts in this case, so that it just doesn't happen in Crawford County, that we understand that the Missouri NAACP and the NAACP nationally already knows that in Crawford County, that in Madison County, Missouri, that in Mississippi County, Missouri, African Americans have been getting killed without a prosecution. So I think when we compare these various cases together, we can bring a better case for ensuring that we get justice in this one.
Well, I mean, it's a shame. I remember in another life years ago, I used to do some work down in Mississippi County. And I can tell you, we had some personal experiences there. My wife and I were down there, and not knowing where we were in nighttime. Okay. It was a weird situation. Okay. And I can't imagine. So right now, Mr. King, and I asked him, what do you want people to do?
What I want people to do is I want people to stand up, stand out, voice their displeasement with what's going on in our state. I want them, if you can at all possible, on February the 5th, come, march with us, stand with us, shout with us that we need justice for Justin King. We will be there February the 5th. I know Rod will have it on his website, the NAACP website, the location of where this is going to happen. Come and stand with us, and because, guys, this is not going to change unless we stand up for our sons and daughters, and we're not just standing for Justin, even though I love Justin dearly. I'm standing up for the future sons and the future daughters, because if we don't do something, this is not going to go away. We have to make a stand. This is 2022. Our loved ones are being slaughtered in record number. We've got to make a stand. So please come out, stand up with us, and we are going to stand with you. One of my goals, because when this happened on November 3rd, it changed my life forever. We're going to create a foundation in Justin's name, because this problem doesn't seem like it's going to go away. And so, if it happens in the future in Missouri, we're going to be there with you, because I understand. I mean, we had never felt this before, and I can tell you, you don't want to have this feeling. You do not. I mean, you don't want to have a feeling where your child is taken from you, because you just can't fathom it. So please come out and stand with us on February the 5th in Bourbon, Missouri. Take one day to make a change. One day to make a change in our lives of not just us, but our children and our children's children. Thank you.
I just want to add.
Go ahead, please.
I just would like to add about. Yes, I'm calling after for use our voice for Justin King. Yeah, we need to get all together to stop all this. They don't have to write. They just kill someone and get away for it. Especially the polar people, but we don't believe it. We don't need this. We need to all together. It's 2022. And everybody, like Justin, have lots of love for everyone. And I'm fighting for it for my granddaughter. Now, he was there. She was there the time that happened.
Oh my God.
And this is going to affect her life for the rest of her life and affect us and the rest of my life. We have a Branch family and King family. We salute you all guys for helping us to support us. We're praying. I'm praying so hard for our people to support us and guide us. But I have a heart to just bless my son's face for his grave to help justice.
Well, let me
So they will be asking for.
any kind of way, social media can the protest rally that we have in here. Could that be virtual? Some way people could join you guys on that?
Oh yeah. Yes, we contact. Yeah, we do. We contact the channel 2, and I believe John can contact the channel 4 and other media that we know.
Okay.
Yep. We're working to make sure that for a number of folks who cannot physically get there, if you can, we would love to have people there. But if people cannot, we're going to not only record what happens in the motorcade and the march and at the rally with both civil rights and faith leaders as well as community activists from right there in Bourbon and Cuba. This is not just a Cuba or a Crawford County or a Missouri issue. This is a national issue that has taken place in the context of this poor family's lives.
Number one of the things I know for a fact, I saw Reverend Gray down there, who's very much, a social leader, in our community, speaking up and stuff, So anyway, have you got any support from the church community at this point?
Oh, absolutely. And you put your finger on him. Reverend Gray will be there with us on the 5th. We are excited about his participation and his call for justice for Justin King, as well as the church community. We understand that this will be a multi-denominational event from various clergy around the state who will participate. This is not a Baptist or a Catholic or a Lutheran or a Jewish or a Muslim issue. This is a moral issue, and we're calling people on that basis.
Yeah, I think one of the things, last Saturday we did a show with Mr. Richardson's show. Guess we'll come to Kansas City, and I know we sent that show out, and we're going to do this one, around the state. I hope you guys utilize that, to get out. That was a very moving show, to be honest with you, and just moved my heart, even now when I listen, he was crying in the background there. That's tug at your heartstrings. Your mother, lost of a son, loss of a child.
It's feeling me good every single day in my life. And never be the same anymore. My son's not here, and I wish I could bring him back. Now I wish I could protect him to any kind of war, because I've been trying everything and thing for my children. And such thing happening like this, the devil took my son away.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we are here with you, and we appreciate you, Ira, allowing us to share this tragedy through your show and through your voice, and we absolutely will. We'll use this recording and to make sure that other people around the state who didn't get to hear it today, they can hear it tonight, they can hear it tomorrow and next week and as the days go on. So we can ensure that we get what we need. And again, well, it's a very simple request. the family
Right.
wants the killer brought to justice. That's it. A prosecution of the person, Eric Barber, who shot their son, Justin King, on November the 3rd. That's all we're asking for. I don't understand why, in rural Missouri, we can't do that. They prosecute other killers right there in Crawford County, but they won't prosecute them in this case. And it's time that they actually do what's required. That the coroner do what's required.
And remember, to me, okay, every safeguard in the justice system, to me, was ignored, disregarded, it didn't exist. Okay, for somebody to kill somebody to be brought home by the police, okay, with escort, for lack of better description, and remove all the evidence and contaminate the scene, they didn't intend to have justice.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And it's astonishing because the chief of police for Bourbon was the first one on the scene. He was the first one there.
How did he get there so quick?
I don't know. And by himself. When you get a shots fired call, I understand everybody comes at the same time, but they do a coordinated effort. It just makes me very concerned about the level of public service that the people in Crawford County are receiving, and it's particularly in this case, because when you have a black victim, you are not getting the best of what there is, and in this case, we didn't get anything at all.
And for the sergeant to tell you that the gentleman who did this was sorry, and he admitted he was sorry, and he admitted that he killed the man, there should be some laws, okay, that would govern that. And I'm not being a lawyer, and I'm not trying to be a lawyer.
No.
This is some of the craziest stuff I ever heard in my life.
Right. Well,
I'm sorry, Mr. Red. In the corner of that, they have you can see also chariots of the prosecutor. They look at each other like they can each one answer the question with the prosecutor. It's like you can tell how they turn alive and just laughing and smiling like it's not a big deal for them. If we're just sitting there, that is laughing in our face. Not giving us enough evidence to charge my son out. It's just homicide.
Well, okay, but how was this guy that did this killing?
42. He's a tall guy, heavy guy, fat, and there's no way that he have to use the gun to scare my son. And I believe that he planned this killing because he can just fire the fire out of the air and tell him to get out. But no, because he gave her some kind of drug for my son, and my son get upset because my son don't use any meds.
Okay, now one last thing, then, Rob, you'd be so kind here that we didn't cover here. When they did the investigation, okay, it was said that he was Justin was trying to rob this man's trailer. They were trying to take his TV off the wall, and there was no physical evidence that he had been inside the house.
Right. We were promised that the evidence that they had against Eric Barber would be released at that coroner's inquest, and there was no evidence that Justin was ever in the house. We asked about fingerprints. We got two different stories. The sheriff said, they were smudged, but the guy who testified, the law enforcement official that was called and under oath, he said that the results weren't back yet. So we don't. Here's what we do know. We know that there's no evidence that the neighbor of each other, that Justin King as the neighbor for Eric Barber, went over on November the 3rd, barefoot, with no shirt on, in his pajama bottoms, with an idea that he was going to rob anybody. There was no evidence. Nobody has said that. Nobody's testified to that. And in fact, if he had made it into the house, what would he have taken out? Because I think that the other testimony that came from the manager of the apartment, the trailer complex, was that trailer was a wreck. That it was dirty. That there was nothing of value in there. This is just another lie.
Yes, and the TV is still on the wall. And let me clear this one up. My son have a good job. He make a good money. To tell him that he's going to rob that stroller, my son is making more than I do, and that's why he helped me to pay half of my rent. So it's no circumstances that he's going to rob because he's making a good money. He works in auto insurance.
You know, right now, then with you and Mr. King, we bring in Mr. Chuck DeBow, who is our executive director, I should say, for the NASCAR team on Commerce. And normally he always comes on in the last half hour. But Chuck, you coming in on here, okay? Injustice here that the Missouri team of Commerce, turning Nimrod, some of the people that we've got involved with a family that was just what you heard was murdered. Okay, so Chuck, what did you pick up so far, Chuck?
I'm not really clear on. It sounded like somebody's accused of something, or not just accused, but was arrested for it, and we're talking about plausible defense.
Okay, let's kind of refresh.
Absolutely. Let me see. So Justin King was a 28-year-old African American Filipino young man living out in Bourbon, Missouri, taking care of his daughter, and he was murdered on November the 3rd of 2021. His neighbor is the one who shot him 3 times and claims self-defense. But he claims self-defense before he was ever arrested and detained for the murder. He is currently not under any charges. The investigation is complete. They do not intend to prosecute Eric Barber for the murder of Justin King, which he admitted shooting him 3 times.
Are you the attorney?
I am.
And Nimrod is also our attorney. He's also head of the state NAACP also.
Yeah. And so what's the plan? This isn't. I mean, this isn't anything new. This really sounds a lot like Brunswick.
Yep. Right now, we are pressing for federal prosecution or intervention so that we can force a prosecution here. That's what should happen. And in Ahmaud Arbery's case, it took months, but it was only through shining a light on it that all the evidence was released. And with that evidence, we were able to understand what actually took place, that they literally hunted that poor man down. Here, a neighbor took a life and didn't have to. We can't let that stand.
No, and it will stand unless there is some, like what you said, putting the light on it and bringing to it. It's almost as if, I hate to say it, it's almost like there's a laziness or a complacency to just do whatever because these people don't matter, or it isn't a headline.
Yes.
However,
yes.
Ferguson itself does remain in the news, and it does still render itself as relevant. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe 2 police officers were shot and killed in Ferguson this week, weren't they?
Yes.
So is this city or the place where this murder happened? Is that the Ferguson area? Is it the same jurisdiction?
No, unfortunately, this is in a rural area. It's about an hour's drive from St. Louis. In a rural area.
Okay, so is that a county or a state attorney general, or what comes to bear upon the things that need to happen here?
That's right. So we have a county prosecutor, David Smith, who has refused to prosecute the shooter. There is an attorney general, but I can tell you from past experience with his office that they have refused to prosecute other murders of black men, including Torrey Sanders, who died in much the same way that George Floyd did. So that's why we think that perhaps the federal government and their ability to investigate civil rights violations will be the best suited to ensure that we get justice in this case.
Ivor, what's the gentleman's name, the attorney out of Florida?
You talking about something? I was just
no. Yeah, no, but that is who you really need to. Benjamin Crump. I'm just googling him while I'm talking here.
I got it. Mr. King.
Yeah, Benjamin Crump is a specialist in these, and probably the foremost in the country in terms of a brand or a footprint for civil rights prosecutions or in the lack thereof. So I believe that whether you as the representing attorney or the family itself can at least make them aware of it. And in this case, it may not necessarily be pitched a position from a pro bono disposition as much as it can be and could be positioned for a civil rights violation against the victim and the family. And just that alone is going to give cause for more serious, a more respectful tone or serious tone to be associated with this whole thing, because you really are being subjected to, you're nobody, you're just here, you're one of us, or you're in this community. As soon as the rest of the world, or let's just say any video comes out about it, or anything about the trial itself, it goes right in there. I mean, the other part of it too, Ira, and I harp on this a little bit, but okay, so where is Black Lives Matter? They're supposed to be born and bred right there, as part of this. And if nobody's saying anything, nobody's doing anything, then it's time to put the spotlight on it. But again, this is just open conversation, discussion. I'm not an expert in this, but I do know history a little bit, and we've seen this too many times. So let's come up with some plausible actions that we can do, and we certainly won't waste your time. But I know that you need the people to do this for a living. They're the best. And Missouri's been popping up and down on the radar here of late as to questionable type of activities and things going on.
Well, I tell you what, Mr. King and Ms. Ava and Nimrod, the national team of Commerce, like I said, we will, Nimrod, through you, okay, we have to work with you going forward, okay, any kind of way we can. And what Chuck just suggested, okay, and I think, it's a thing I know you probably considered already, but again, like I said, I told you guys last Saturday, Mr. King, I got a plan again, okay?
Right on. No, and Ira, we sure appreciate you, and that's a good suggestion, and we'll follow up on that. It was good to be on today, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Well, let me ask a quick question. Now, did you say you represent the NAACP as well?
Well, yeah, I'm the president of the NAACP, yeah.
I mean, so what's your position as the president of the NAACP?
What do you mean?
Well, the NAACP is, in fact, a civil rights organization. Am I not saying it properly?
Oh yeah. No. I think that the NAACP has come out firmly, as well as Missouri Faith Voices and a number of other civil rights organizations in the state, demanding justice and asking that investigations move forward. And so we've contacted not only the federal authorities, but the statewide elected too, to ensure a request that they do their job. I mean, that's ultimately what we're asking, is that they do their job with equality for all citizens. But then I don't think we should forget that the travel advisory, which was imposed on Missouri, was imposed simply for this situation. And some other issues that go along with it, driving while black, inequitable access to health care, education, and employment, those issues. Yeah.
Well, that's good. And your national office should be in unison with you, and I hope they are. The National Black Chamber of Commerce is mission to economically empower to entrepreneurship pursuits, and as the relevance, or as this issue crosses the paths of our constituents, and certainly will engage. It is not typical for us to lead the charge necessarily in civil rights. We'll work hand in hand with the NAACP and the Urban League, Black Lives Matter, and certainly Reverend Sharpton and Reverend Jackson in it. But this is basically fundamental civil rights 101. As I see it, I'm not an attorney, but certainly we'll help you any way we can. But
thank you very much.
I think that you need an expert, and Benjamin Crump is that expert.
I sure appreciate that, and more than that, I appreciate the National Black Chamber lending us their voice in our efforts to ensure that justice is brought forward. We're going to get there, and we'll all get there.
We'll follow you closely. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
On that note, you guys we welcome to hang around Chuck, and be so kind to give us an update now. Ms. King, I will be calling you later on this afternoon, or probably tomorrow, to get Mr. King also. With my new plan that we have, okay, how we can be able to keep the family going forward.
No problem. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate you. Like I said, behalf of the Brown family, the King's family, for his brother, and for sister, for daughter, and niece and nephew. We will really, bottom of our heart, we really thank you for doing this for Justin King.
Okay, thank you. Now, you guys can hang on the phone, okay? But Chuck, if you be so kind, give us an update what's going on with the National Chamber of Commerce. You know, there's lots of things going on. As they said right now, we have got a call coming over to the White House sometime soon. Give us an update.
Yes, the call is with HUD, Housing and Urban Development Agency for the federal government, and they are actually the agency that administers and distributes the community block grant funds that we talked about for some time on this show. So on February 22nd, we're having a call to talk about Section 3, Title 6, which is the provision that residents and dependents of the federal government that live in public housing have a almost like a first right of refusal to do business, to earn their own support, and be employed or have opportunity from the federal government. In other words, just because you're on welfare don't mean that we can't offer you a job or offer you an opportunity, or that you would be precluded from one were you to seek it. But now, what are we really talking about here? And as we relate to this, billions of dollars. We're talking about billions. And I think the last time we talked about, Ferguson alone had some big number back then. You know, this is 2-3 years ago when we had the mayor on, and we were asking, and he was willing to make a commitment to it. So anyway, make a long story short, we're going to be talking directly with them. Some of our members in various cities have had challenges where they
with contractors on a project, and a master developer or somebody that had hired them, who had the contract with the federal government, didn't want to pay them, and there were various types of issues. So that's one of the things of our advocacy of what we're doing and what we're working on. On Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, the Florida Black Chambers are having their day at the Capitol, and they're going to the state capitol in Tallahassee, Florida, and they're going to visit their representatives, but they're going to present their case for adherence and recognition of diversity contracts. So essentially, they're saying that, you've got these guidelines, these things on the books here that say you're going to do X number of dollars worth of business with our members, our constituency, but you're not doing it. It's not happening. So they're calling the question. They're holding some accountability, but at least they're going in a professional, formidable manner to present to the state, the government, not just the legislature, but the governor himself, that, we are your constituents. Some of us may have voted for you. We're asking for it to be held in respect and regards. But what happens is, just like we have the politicians that come on this show and ask them to support them and vote for them, we're saying, yeah, okay, we've supported you, but now you've got, we need help. We need to see your support and reciprocation of that. Another thing. Go ahead.
One of the things that when the Missouri Chamber of Commerce first got started, we participated with Larry Ivory, Illinois Chamber of Commerce, when we went to the state capitol for lobby days for nearly a year, and was able to meet the governors and all the the leaders up there, and we were able to affect change. So I commend the Florida delegation. Okay, what they're about to do. It will get their attention, and we got something like that planned for Missouri sometime in the next year or so. So there is a strategy that will bear fruit.
Well, I would like to suggest that in this issue that we're talking about here with this murder case, that there is a side of it that relates to business. I mean, it isn't necessarily the case itself, but it is the culture and the environment of where things like this occur. That if we start looking at it and say, okay, so let's look at the state contracting in this same county, in this same jurisdiction. We start putting a little microscope on it, a magnifying glass, and say, well, what's really going on? If they're doing that on something this overt, what else are they doing?
You're right.
That's where we kind of come in as an advocacy group and saying, well, let's follow the money. Who voted this guy in office? This person, this prosecutor is saying, I don't need to adhere to you. I don't, so, okay, all right. That's like we're going down Denzel routine. Okay, all right, yeah. And then we're going to come back and hold them accountable. But with that said, the interesting thing, and it could be, I think it's going to happen, and I don't feel friction, but President Biden's ready to nominate the first black woman to the Supreme Court. And the candidates are very strong. Yeah. And, in a way, I would almost want to say that you can't go wrong. But I'm almost certain that the one that serves as a clerk under Byers, the gentleman that's retiring, and that has been there through the years, I think she's a Harvard graduate, that's probably the one that's going to get it. There's several others that they'd like to, but they've got to at least have 2 or 3 candidates and they're going to pick from. But there's one that's really totally logical as the true candidate for that. That's
she's the youngest one, I think, also.
Yeah, and so I think that's a great thing. On the other side, the Republicans are not necessarily putting up opposition to it, or there's no rumblings. But here's where we really need to all kind of maybe fasten your seatbelt and put your glasses on and make sure you vote. Because while we have that going on, while we have
let's say door number one, we got Dr. Fauci and whatever this week's trials and tribulations as the world turns on the COVID globe spinning around there. Then you got this thing, okay, a little bit of something here with this Supreme Court thing. Then you got this other thing over here. This is really where we got to pay attention. This thing with President Putin and Russia, and they're talking about, if he invades, if there's something in the game and it don't smell good, and I don't mean it's just the Russian side of it. So Putin is saying that he asked that Ukraine be blocked from joining NATO or something of that nature that he wanted. And there's some other concessions and other things that were asked for that, United States or NATO was willing to give. But at the same time, he's threatening to call off the natural gas pipelines to Europe. And he's saying, I'm not sure yet or whatever, but I think the invasion's already begun. I don't think it's a matter of, they've already got their spies and their other people in there trying to set up who they really want to be in government. They've got, you got 100,000 troops lined up and you're calling them exercises. And if you watch these World War II documentaries, that's how Hitler set up his big move.
Well, Chuck,
they're military exercises.
Well, Chuck, we were young at that time, but this sounds like what happened with President Kennedy down in Cuba years ago.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Russia didn't set up camp with 100,000 in ballistic missiles and got your fighter jets and everything on rebuttal. This is imminent. And so now one of our top generals comes out and starts talking about the potential loss of human life, the humanistic impact of it. And so we're starting now, because Biden's been saying, well, we're not going to send troops for military intervention, but we'll send advisors. We're sending 8,500 of them. And so what are you going to do? You're going to sit there, and they're also saying, okay, all Americans out. We're ordering you out the country. We can't speak for what might happen or what not. It's getting ready to happen. Is the point I'm saying. Everything's pointing to that. And Putin's playing his chess game, and he's kind of saying, this is what it is. This is what we're gonna do. And so now the United States is saying, oh, okay, all right, we couldn't stop him. You see what I'm saying? We couldn't stop him. So they're letting, I'm not going to say they're letting it happen, but it's almost, conspiracy theory that if we knew 9/11 was coming, why did they let it happen? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of a little bit scenario that, well, we know this is happening. We know this is coming. And they're going to kind of not let it happen, but we certainly aren't stopping it. You know what I mean?
Well, so let me ask this question, okay? To me, okay, as we all look at this, Ukraine used to be formerly a part of Russia, and I think right now everyone thinks about a legacy, and I think Putin is putting his legacy on trying to bring them back into the Soviet Union, and he don't want nobody that close, with other forces, with missiles that close, to Russia. Is his main thrust.
He doesn't want America that close to him.
Right, I'm saying he don't want America that close to him.
No, Ukraine is about as American as we're going to get that close to Russia.
Right, that's what it's all about.
That's the game. Right. America, that's America's ally. We got for them. You could walk right on in from Ukraine, like right here. Mm-hmm. Ukraine and America are buddy. So we're supported. But yes, you're right in that. Yes, your observation that he's trying to get he's trying to reclaim what they've lost. It's very similar to Israel and Egypt, and Sinai Peninsula, and all that kind of stuff. So the whole point of it, what's that got to do with us? Well, while we're over here trying to figure out these other things, all of a sudden now TV is going to switch to door number 3, or channel 3. We get ready to flip it, and we get ready to have a conflict just after. Oh no, Afghanistan. Oh no, we're bringing them home. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. We're going to bring in. We're a peaceful country. Brother, they stacking the deck.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to not respond, is what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? The stage is being set.
Yes,
now, I hope I'm wrong, but I mean, my eyes aren't lying to me. You know what I mean? I mean, we're seeing it, and then they told all them to say, well, he's threatening to cut our natural gas off. And here's the other one. Ira, and I know maybe you listen, Scott and some of the other people around, some military folks. So we got an F-35 Vector fighter jet, and it's trying to land on the aircraft carrier. Something happens, and it crashes and drops in the sea. Now, I can't imagine that didn't happen, but so close to the aircraft carrier itself. So why are we now so worried about the Chinese getting that plane? And why did the Chinese come out with a statement saying that we're not interested in that aircraft?
Like hell.
Yeah, like.
And that's how far
you're not interested in it. The top technology, the plane itself is over $100 million.
Yeah, Chuck, that plane right now they've been having a lot of problems with that 35, over the years. They ain't quite for prime time, and this is another reason why it's not ready for prime time.
But here's my point. What I'm saying here, what's all the drama? The aircraft carrier is right there. The plane didn't crash way off in the middle on some secret mission somewhere. It tried to land. It fell off into the water. Let's say within a half mile, a quarter mile, or right there underneath the ship. You see what I'm saying? And then, so we know, and I'll be the first one. I'll be controversial. I'll go out here and say it. But China downloaded the Pentagon years ago. If you look at their jets, it's the same plane. They got the technology. If they say, "Oh, we're not interested," we have no interest in that plane. It's because they already got it. But for us to say that, for us to come out and say it under these circumstances, again, it's deflecting.
Scott, what are your thoughts on that, real quick?
My thoughts basically are: first of all, we're a little bit over time.
Okay.
Secondly, Chuck is absolutely right. It's hard to believe that they're not going to go in.
Well, we could say this for another day. My apologies for going over on time. But we're going to watch it. That's what I'm saying.
Oh well, it's on the watch now for everybody, but it's been on the watch for a lot of people for a while.
Yeah. On that note, we want to thank Chuck DeBow. We want to thank Mr. Nimrod Chappelle, our attorney, also in the King family, Mr. King and Miss Ava, but taking the time to invite us on what's going on in Berwick, Missouri for the march next Saturday. My name is Ira Folks, Chuck, that's Ray Up, and that's Scott. On that note, thank you for being part of the Lunch of Missouri King of Congress for a beautiful Saturday. Please be safe and wear a face mask, and life is good.
Thank you.